What's up, Amazon sellers, and welcome back to the weekly show where we share some news and answer your guys' questions. I'm Chris Grant, and to my right is my autogenous co-host, Chris Rasick. Now, for those of you who might be new here, our job is to try and make your life a little bit easier as an Amazon seller. Maybe you've got questions about flipping items, retail arbitrage, and flipping clearance. Maybe you want to pull the trigger on some online arbitrage. Perhaps you want to dive into wholesale, or maybe there's just a curious Keepa chart quandary that you have. Well, we're here to help. We'll also share some stats, some news stories, and the occasional business maxim to try to help you become a better business owner. Chris, how's it going, man? I'll tell you what. I usually try to come up with a positive adjective to introduce you on the show every twice a week, but I'm not always able to. And sometimes I hear a word, and then I go and look it up, and I have to use it. And this one's not so great. It's not horrible, but it's not so great either.
So don't leave me in suspense. I can't figure out the roots of it.
Well, it's actually it's a type of animal that has to consume the blood of a mammal before it can lay eggs. So like a mosquito.
Okay. I mean, it may be accurate. I've never laid eggs, so I had no idea what it would take. So, but
I'm halfway through that book, Salt, which I know that I'm gonna get grief for it, and that's okay. The history of salt, but it pulls from a lot of historical texts, and so there's some words in there that I'm like, oh man, I'm on my walk and I'm saying it over and over to myself in my head so I don't forget to Google it.
Right. That's another use case for the AI pendants that they're coming out with. Just
right.
Say it out loud and have it record. It's perfect.
Exactly.
Halfway through, you're making serious progress on that book. It's not a short one, right?
It is not a short book. When I get into something that's fascinating, I try to find opportunities to listen. So a couple extra walks here and there. Making sure it's on in the car when I do have to drive. The few times I have to drive around, because it's fascinating.
Yeah. I'm at a loss with school out. I always had a solid 20 to 30 minutes of reading time waiting in between the kids after I pick one up and I'm waiting for the second one. That's when I got the bulk of my reading done. So, got to find, but that was actually King's advice on how to read more. He said, first rule is always have a book on you with Kindle app. That makes it easy. But he said, just take every opportunity that you have to just read a page or two, even, just if you're sitting in the grocery store checkout line, just open up the Kindle app, read a couple pages while you're waiting. It's good. There's a lot of scrolling time that could be subbed for reading with the Kindle app.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely. I really should turn on some more controls and just be like, you can't use social media, during these times, and but leave the Kindle app open. It'll probably do some good, but
yeah,
I don't know, man. It's already got my heart rate pumping a little bit just saying it.
So I got a quiz for you. So we're barreling towards summertime.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe not for you. I'm sure you got the AC cranked up, but you'll certainly remember this time of year in Ohio where it's windows open still. It's not especially it goes back and forth. Anywhere from 80 to 60. Are the highs these days. But so windows open, some fans, stuff. So I'm curious, which do you hate more? The bass booming cars or motorcycles? Because I pretty much I spend all of the open window season debating between the two, which I hate more. And I don't know. It's a dead heat for me.
That's a tough one for me. See, you got me. This may be something that a lot of people don't know about me, because I'm guilty of both of those things. So I was running about 1,700 watts through two Kicker 12-inch amps, or two 12-inch subwoofers in my 1994 Ford Thunderbird.
Yeah, bumping those audiobooks.
Yes, I was. I was a big. I mean, I was a big fan of what would have been alternative at the time. And now it's probably considered emo music, but I was maybe even a bigger fan of 90s rap.
Okay.
And the bigger the bass, I was so happy. And I had two motorcycles. One of them was a Gixxer 600. So I was that idiot doing 120 on the freeway in my young days. But I also had a Harley Sportster, and I made sure that it was pretty loud.
Nice. Yeah, I don't. I only dislike those people when they disturb me. Just when they go through and they rattle the windows or whatever.
Yeah.
I do appreciate both, because I haven't had either personally, but I've had the pleasure of sitting in a car with massive bass playing, and it's a unique experience, to say the least.
It is. Oh man. All right. So, guys, in the 1980s, Sam Walton, founder of Walmart, for those of you who may not know, he was already a billionaire, but he was famous, maybe infamous, for driving this kind of beat up 1970s pickup truck. And he refused to fly private. He actually usually just flew regular. Now, why did he do this? Well, it's because Sam believed that the secret to growing fast, it wasn't just selling more, it was actually managing cash flow like your life depended on it. He famously told his executives, he said, control your expenses better than the competition, and that's where you win. And that's where a lot of Amazon sellers lose. They treat credit like it's a convenient thing rather than like an actual business tool. Maybe they miss their float windows. Maybe they pay some interest. They scramble through due dates instead of like strategizing and figuring out what's best for their business. So we built something to make it a little bit easier for you. Build a Chat GPT prompt that'll actually build you a plan and a calendar to help you maximize your float, get you anywhere from 52 to 60 days or so of a free loan, be able to eliminate interest, time your payments up properly, and stretch your Amazon dollars and make Sam Walton proud. It's not just about saving money. It's about like unlocking some extra buying power every single month without necessarily changing your sourcing budget. So if you want to get the prompt, build yourself the plan and the calendar, and make your capital work even harder, you guys can get it for free. It's over at cleartheshelf.com/credit. That's cleartheshelf.com/credit. You can download that absolutely free.
I remember you telling me about experimenting with it, but it's pretty cool. It's powerful, like understated how powerful it is.
Yeah, and the thing is, you don't have to just do it on your business. You could do this on the personal side as well. And I mean, nobody really talks about. Well, not a lot of people talk about like personal cash flow. It's always talking business cash flow, but there is such a thing as personal cash flow. And if you need to eke out just a little bit more, you can do it as long as you're being responsible and doing something like this.
Yeah, and to be honest, most of the bonus categories, if you're working the credit card points and perks and whatnot, most of the big time bonuses, the 3x and the 5x points, are on stuff that you're going to spend personally. I ended up I'm in a phase now where I run basically all of our food and streaming services through the Chase Sapphire Preferred to get 3x and 5x the points, and then just turn around instead of using the debit card to just swipe the CSP and then just pay it off right away. Just capitalize on the points. So
yeah,
it makes a lot of sense.
I'll tell you, if I could only get ungated in United States Postal Service, I would be selling stamps like nobody's business on Amazon for the 4x points from American Express. Would be crushing it. All right. So we've got a couple pieces of news, and of course, we're going to answer your guys' questions. So if you have questions that we can help you with, make sure to drop them in the chat. It's been a little light lately. I know that it's getting to be summertime. Kids are out of school. Who wants to hang out with a couple of guys like us, when you can go hang out with your kids? But we'd love to answer your guys' questions. So first piece of news is something that I did not see coming. It seems that the Cold War between Amazon and Walmart just got weirdly warm. And it's good news for anybody who is wanting to sell on both platforms. Amazon is officially waiving the 5% surcharge on multi-channel fulfillment orders delivered through non-Amazon carriers if you're fulfilling Walmart orders. Now, this waiver is going to be in effect from, I can't remember, it starts very soon if it's not already in effect, and it goes through January 14th of 2026. And this comes just after like a week or two after Walmart updated its own terms of service to explicitly say that, yes, you can use Amazon multi-channel fulfillment to fulfill Walmart orders as long as you ship in neutral packaging and block Amazon logistics. So for some reason, like the two retail giants are like playing semi-nice for now. And it's helpful for us. So here's how it works. You can fulfill any Walmart order via FBA with multi-channel fulfillment. To qualify for the fee waiver, you have to ship in blank boxes, and you have to block Amazon Logistics as the carrier. You can also fulfill these orders manually via Seller Central, or you can do it automatically using multi-channel fulfillment integrated tools. There are a few that Amazon gives you options for that you can go in and look at and see how you can cross list and all of that stuff so that it automatically figures out your not fulfillment, your inventory levels. All right. Now, Amazon even went on to say and said that sellers who use multi-channel fulfillment actually saw a 19% reduction in out-of-stock rates, which that didn't quite make sense to me, but apparently that's what they're seeing, and a 12% improvement in inventory turnover. So that's a good thing. Now, why might you want to do this? Okay, well, unified inventory may equal more velocity. Sales velocity is incredibly important. You might be able to keep less total inventory if you sell on both Amazon and Walmart. Instead of having to split the units between warehouses or anything like that, you can just centralize it to FBA and dispatch it from there, which, saying that, it starts to make sense why Amazon is going to allow this. They know that Walmart's a competitor, but why don't they get their hands on a couple dollars anyway? Because there's a little margin on multi-channel fulfillment. And also, Walmart doesn't mind anymore. I know that there were some people doing this already, but Walmart said, hey, it's all right. You can do that. It's no problem. So it's interesting. And honestly, Amazon's probably playing a little bit of a long game here. They're going to be able to get you maybe more dependent on Amazon infrastructure, especially people who might be brand owners or wholesale sellers. And they're probably going to collect some data as well. They're going to have customer addresses. They're going to know what's selling, things like that. So this is cool. I'm just curious how Amazon uses it long term.
Yeah, I'm having a tough time on the read on the why, because I always want to figure out what the benefit is to Amazon, because they don't, I don't believe any of the changes that they make are seller based initially. You know, I think it's a matter of Amazon's going to do what's best for Amazon, and then they'll try to spin it into perks to sellers and whatnot, which is not unique. That's every business does that. Don't think I'm knocking Amazon when I say that. So so is this what's your take on it? Is this embracing diversification? Is it embracing merchant fulfilled? Is there a kind of a background benefit to easing capacities on fulfillment centers? Is it simply embracing e-commerce rates increasing and just more shoppers, period? And like you said, just kind of grabbing a few dollars on the fulfillment? What do you think the primary motivation is?
It's a good question. My guess is it will allow things to get in and out of their warehouses faster. I mean, we know that's something that they absolutely want. And they're going to be able to grab a few cents of storage fees. They're going to be able to make a little margin on the shipping. I don't know, if I were Amazon, I would also be like, we're going to get all the addresses of everyone who's buying from other platforms, and we're going to know what's going to them. So it would be an easy way to advertise to those people and maybe steal them from whatever marketplace or store that they purchased on. I don't know. Other than that, I don't see how this is good for them. You know, they're
Right.
not going to get the commissions or anything like that. But maybe the data is more valuable long term.
Or maybe they print off little flyers and says you could have gotten this cheaper, you know, with
Right.
an ASIN.
Right. And Flamingo, oh, sorry, you were replying to someone else. I thought you were talking about Amazon collecting fees. Like, yeah, it is just going to be a couple pennies that maybe they're getting, but multiply that by, you know, 1 million or 2 million or 5 million packages, and those shekels add up.
Yeah, interesting news for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we're going to talk about credit cards next. Now, there's already an ad to go get the Chat GPT prompt that we put together earlier today, but I wanted to break this down because I did I shared this with Chris a few weeks ago, and then I went in and I created a prompt, and then I made it better and really nailed it down, and then I wrote a Twitter thread and a Facebook post about it, and the Twitter thread kind of fell flat. But I think this is really good information that not enough people are doing. Like, I know of a handful of people that do it. We talked to Chris Beam. She talked about it when she was on the podcast. We talked with another guy about credit cards, and he chatted about it a little bit. But I figured that I should explain it a little bit better. All right. So we're going to talk about that credit card float. All right. And it's an easy way to kind of hack your cash flow a little bit. And it'll let you borrow money interest free for up to about 60 days without having an American Express Plum card. Okay. And it's just by knowing when your statements close. All right. So all you've got to do is not necessarily obsess over the due date, but optimize for that statement closing date. Okay. So if your card closes on June 3rd, which just passed, so we could say July 3rd, and you buy inventory on July 4th, well, that charge is not going to hit until the next statement. Okay. Which will be August 3rd. And it won't be due until like September 1st. So you get that float period. That's 58 days or so. Might be a little bit more than that to flip your inventory, be able to collect your payout, and then pay off that card without, touching your bank balance. You can let it grow or whatever you might want to do. Tell you one other hack you could do is if you're using like an e-commerce first bank, or an internet first bank, you could stack all your payouts from Amazon, have them go into a high yield savings account for a couple of days, and try to get a little bit of interest on it which is exactly what Amazon's probably doing with the money they hold in escrow for us when they pay us. But now, the way to really maximize this is to multiply that across multiple cards. And then you create this staggered rotation of float windows that gives you like constant access to interest-free capital. All right. There are several savvy sellers who do this. Now, why would this actually matter to you? Well, if we're being honest, capital constraints have got to be like top 3 complaints for arbitrage sellers. I need more money. Okay. By optimizing that credit card float, you get to extend your cash cycle a little bit without having to pay extra for it. You might be able to increase your buying power and, hopefully move that inventory in time. And then, of course, you stack that with points earning cards like we talked about before, and you get a little extra on top of it. Matter of fact, that's what summer vacation is getting paid with, is completely in points this year. So not going to cost us, well, except gas. Going to cost a little gas, but that's it. So, but this is a really easy hack to implement. And here's one other thing. And Jeff Storch actually talked about this, is not enough people are getting access to capital when they don't need it. That is incredibly important. Like, get access to capital when you don't require it, and the bank would be happy to throw money at you. But you're 60, 70% full up on your credit card, and they're going to be like, let's hold off. You don't actually need more money. So you want to make sure to take advantage of that as well.
Yeah, this is, I'm glad we went into detail on this. Because, if we're being honest, if we're really trying to scale up, we're going to have to leverage capital somewhere,
Yeah.
I don't know anyone, I'm not sure how many interviews we've done at this point, but I recall exactly 0 sourcing their scaling with their own funds. They're leveraging debt, short-term debt of some kind. So, I almost wanted to say something snarky, like, because I retweeted this because I like it so much. And I think it's so important. And my first thought was to say something snarky about the broccoli haired, plum cards and whatnot. But I wanted to stress, this seems minor, like if you just kind of read it and it's like, whatever, float, you hear words that maybe you don't quite understand. But I mean, we're in the business of scraping and scratching and clawing for every last percentage point that we can. I will labor over the decision to sign up for a new cashback site because they have 6% cashback instead of 4% on one of the sites that I use, so, and then calculate that in dollars. And that's, that's what I'm grinding over. And we do it all the time. We search, we put time into finding 20% off instead of settling for 15% off. We're just scratching and clawing for all this. And this is right in our wheelhouse. If this doesn't make sense to you, if the impact of this is kind of lost on you, sit with it and reread it, run the prompts, have Chat GPT set a schedule for you. And because, especially if you're scaling, you're going to end up paying a little bit of interest, most likely. And if you can reduce that, it's all the more important. It's the same concept that we talk about when we say, we're not pulling profits for a certain period of time, because every dollar that we can reinvest is a multiple of that dollar back into inventory, and it's going to get us to our goal that much faster. So this is the exact same concept.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Last piece of news, and we'll start answering questions here. We all thought we were going to get Skynet and warring robots, but instead, the humanoids may enslave us by holding our packages hostage. Amazon has started testing humanoid robots for last mile delivery, which is, of course, the most expensive and logistically complex part of the e-commerce chain. These robots, they're being built by Agility Robotics, are actually being tested right now in a specialized indoor obstacle course nicknamed the Humanoid Park in San Francisco. If that's not dystopian, a dystopian name, I don't know what is. Now, here's how it works. They plan on having robots ride along in those Rivian electric vans. A human is still going to ride in the van or drive the van, but the robot is going to be designed to hop out and deliver packages to the doorstep while the other driver handles a different delivery nearby. Sort of like, well, if you're familiar with how UPS works during Q4, they often get what they call a driver's helper. So this will be sort of like Amazon sellers getting a driver's helper, but it's not a person that you can, chew the fat with. Well, I guess unless they build that in. Now, if it works, they're hoping for faster drop-offs. The internal report that got leaked said that they could save up to $7 billion in labor costs by 2032. And they also hope to have fewer delivery delays just because they're going to have two hands, if you will, delivering packages. Amazon's already using some similar robots inside of warehouses, and now it's just going to try to extend that to your front steps. Plans are in motion to test these bots in the wild, but they're a little worried about that. At least one scientist is, thinking about uneven sidewalks, barking dogs, maybe a curious toddler here and there. And I would imagine probably the occasional redneck with a shotgun thinking it's the end times. So it'll be interesting to see how these robots can handle uncontrolled or not static environment. One robotics professor said, if Amazon keeps it to standard driveways and predictable setups, these robots will probably be really good. But you throw in a skateboard, a sprinkler, a golden retriever, who knows what may happen. So why is this important? Well, faster last mile equals faster deliveries. If Amazon can cut the delivery time and customers get their packages quicker, well, that's always good. People come back when they can get things faster. If Amazon can cut that down even by a day in a lot of cases, it's good for Amazon's competitive edge. Lower logistics costs may equal higher margins for Amazon, not you. All right. Amazon spends billions of dollars every year on last mile logistics. Robots may be able to help bring these costs down, and maybe that could delay a future fee hike for sellers. I'm not going to hold my breath, but we can wish. And then, of course, hopefully this causes fewer human-related errors. If robots can lower the rate of errors even slightly, maybe that's fewer "where's my order" messages, and you ruined Christmas and all that stuff. So I don't know. I'm ready to embrace our future, this first version of our future overlords.
Yeah, this one's pretty neat. I do look forward to the first video of first wave of videos of dogs kind of catching a robot leg, and
yeah.
I wonder what size, I wonder what stability it'll be. Is it going to be like, a German Shepherd size is going to be, have to take it down or I don't know. I look forward to all of that.
Here's what I wonder. This is the thing I'm most curious about is if we're being honest, it's funny to watch people fall down. Okay. I mean, America's Funniest Home Videos, like that's how they made all their money, was people falling down. Is it going to be as funny to watch robots trip and fall over stuff?
If we get used to it, because I think we watched these videos. What is it? The Boston Dynamics, is that the first one that made 60 Minutes and stuff like that? I mean, you kind of a certain degree is creepiness. Like I'm just I'm watching partly in horror, as it's performing all this. So it's still very new to see this. So yeah, I don't know. Probably not quite as funny, I would imagine. Especially if the robot head smashes into the package that's trying to deliver to you, but yeah, I mean, this makes sense. I am curious who gets the robots, right? Because I know Amazon recently announced an investment in rural delivery, trying to expand their reach. Especially because FedEx and UPS are kind of pulling back on that. So, and then Amazon had that program where they were trying to get contracted delivery, delivery contractors.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that, where they're pushing, buy your own last mile delivery service, and they said it took about 10 trucks to make any money, or I know they were pushing that at one time. So my question is, who are they leasing these robots? Are they going to charge these contractors for the use of the robots? And then what's the liability like there if something happens to them? And I'm curious how it works internally with the actual drivers.
Yeah, that is a good question. That's a really good question. And Big T, you got a good point. What's gonna happen in places like San Francisco, Seattle? I'm actually not so worried about San Francisco or Seattle. I'm actually worried about Philadelphia, and and here's the reason why. Okay, there many years ago, someone did a social experiment where they created this humanoid type thing. It was basically like a trash can with a metal head and some like dryer vent arms, and it was a Canadian. And they were trying to get this thing to hitchhike all the way to New York City. And this thing made it all the way through Canada just fine. People would pick it up and then put it back out on the side of the road and place the sign nicely on his chest. Made it all the way through Michigan. It gets itself to the city of brotherly love, and they end up finding it all beaten to a pulp and like ready for the scrapyard. So that's the place where it's going to get messed up.
Yeah, if the real life, if RoboCop ever happened for real, it would happen in Philadelphia,
right?
For sure.
Oh man! All right, let's answer your guys' questions. We'll get to all of these. Anything you've got for us? Let's see here.
So if the robot has a day off in Philly, will it climb the light pole if like the Phillies win the World Series?
I hope so.
Humanoids waving Phillies hats and whatnot.
So Big T, yeah, Amazon MCF, yeah, they're gonna have some kinks to work out. Hopefully they're making MCF better. Like I want to test this out, but I also don't want to get suspended on Walmart. So I'd love to cross list all my inventory, but I don't know. I'm gonna let someone else try it first, I think. Thank you for reminding me of his name. Yeah, we've got a credit card episode out there with Dylan Favaza, I think is his last name. I know he goes by maybe FBA RE because he also does real estate. But yeah, great episode. Albana, are you doing a Q3 group? So the short answer is no. The long answer is, after doing some math, it's actually not profitable. And as a business person, it's kind of silly of me to do things that are not profitable. As much as I enjoy helping and giving leads and all that stuff, I unfortunately, fiscally, it's irresponsible. And I'll tell you why. So it's not a cheap thing to do. but there's a lot of mouths that get fed out of the money that comes into that. And then on top of that, once all the money gets distributed, then I've got a team that has to be paid. Now they're my team. I could use those leads and things like that, but I don't. I give them all to the folks in the groups. By the time we're all done, it's maybe $1,000 left over that 3-month period where I've gone live every Thursday and given away all my leads. So fiscally, I've got to take all that stuff back in house and use it to make my own money. So unfortunately, not going to be a Q3 group. We will think about and talk about whether or not there will be a Q4 group this year. Tony, honest to goodness question. For Amazon's reimbursements, do you have to correct the reimbursement amount before you get a reimbursement on that ASIN? I don't believe so. I don't believe you have to. No. Do you guys fill out the B2B credentials or Amazon certification ones? I've filled out the government one. Pretty sure I've never gotten a government order. I've never taken the time to do it. I try to, it's probably not a bad idea. Probably doesn't hurt anything. But on the other hand, I try to think about it from my viewpoint as a customer. Do I ever pay any attention to that whatsoever? Never. I mean, I've seen it by accident. I think I've seen like a minority owned business, and I think I've seen a women's owned business. But they were in the buy box and it showed up there. I didn't ever go seeking anything out. And I don't know if anybody does. Even if they say they do, I don't know that they do. Sorry, guys, trying to catch up here. All right, Claudia, how do you check if the brand is creating the multi-pack listing? We need to go into the GS1 website. You can do that. But here's the problem, in my opinion, is not every UPC is going to be correct. So honestly, I'm not really worried about it. I think you might be overthinking this. I know Amazon's changed their rules and they want you to only list on multi-packs for consumables that are created by the brand, but I haven't seen anybody like get suspended for listing on them or anything like that. People are getting suspended for like branded bundles and things like that. But if like I still sell on multi-packs that I know are not created by the brand owner, and I will until Amazon shuts them all down.
That has been quite a slow process.
Yeah, it has.
I'm almost starting to feel like we didn't get the true story. I think they kind of one of those blanket policies with just a segment of it enforced. I think they're going after something more specific.
Yeah. It's kind of stupid. Like I get the branded bundles. That was clogging up the arteries of the catalog. I get that. But, just multi-packs in most cases, I think is a net positive.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, the branded bundles, you can easily tell why a brand would be upset about that too. That's just in hindsight, it's kind of stupid.
Mm-hmm. Tony, I see you trying to get us in trouble in the comments, man.
I was about to ask where he's been. He's reminding me quickly of the pitfalls to Big T joining the show.
Jay Tindle, which repricer is good for a beginner? Seller 365, Go Aura, Profit Protector Pro. I'm a big fan of Go Aura. I love those guys over there, Dylan and them. And at $27 a month, you can't beat it if you're under $10,000 a month. I have tested Seller 365. It's a good program too. You're gonna need to create your own rules and things like that, which you can also do in Aura. So I think it's just going to end up depending on, do you want to try Maven, have a little AI for your listings? Do you want to just keep it all in the bundle? I don't think you can go wrong with either. But here's the thing: whichever tool you do decide to use, you need to make sure that you learn as much as you possibly can about how to use the tool properly. Because no matter what, none of the tools are going to be as useful as they can be until you know how to manipulate them properly.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And the question is for a beginner, so it's really tough to tell. I mean, there's such a huge value going from no repricer to a repricer. And then I think my opinion is it gets a little bit stagnant from there until you really hit a high volume, because we had, I think we were talking to I want to say it was Jeff Storch, but he kind of made the point where, once you get up to a certain volume, repricer becomes very, very important. So you're going to spend probably, 0 to whatever it would be, $250,000, where get a repricer, hugely important. Which repricer, less important until you get above a certain point. And $250,000 is just arbitrary. I don't know what the actual number is. It would depend on probably the units. But there comes a point where you really need to fine tune it. But that's some serious volume there. But yeah, I think any of those are good. I use Profit Protector Pro. I'm grandfathered into a stupid cheap plan. I think they've raised their prices significantly recently. But yeah, each one of those has a lot of good points to it. Question though, and I don't want this to get into a slanderous segment of the show, but what the heck is going on with Be Cool?
Great question. That is a really good question. I have seen some posts that maybe they've been removed from Amazon's authorized software, but I have not heard any. I've not actually heard anybody who is a user post about it on social media. Just people who already don't like Be Cool. So I'm not sure. And I'm not a user of Be Cool, have not been in 7 or 8 years. But I still get their emails, of course, and their emails are still going out. So I'm not sure. Jay Tindle, anyone ever have an item ordered marked as a reorder with a $0 value? I'm guessing it got marked as a replacement rather than a reorder. So a replacement is Amazon replacing the item that either may have shown up broken or, they didn't get it in time or it got delivered to the wrong address or something like that. And unfortunately, you're going to be out. You're out that. It's just one of those things that happens on occasion, and you're not getting reimbursed for that. Juan, not a question, but I came up with an interesting prompt for Chat GPT. Based on everything you know about my business, what are the top 10 book recommendations, and in what order do you suggest? Very nice.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm going to do that as soon as we're done here. This is fantastic.
Yeah. And if you ever want an ego boost, once, what were they saying when they first introduced the memory in Chat GPT? It says, "Tell me what you think about me," or something based on everything I've asked you.
Yeah.
Boy, it sure knows how to charm someone.
Right. So I saw someone post on Twitter and they said, "Hey, ask ChatGPT what your IQ is, and then post the answer below." I'm trying to see something. Now, I did not post my answer below, but I did ask it the question, and I also made sure that when I prompted, I said, "Try to be objective. Don't try to make me feel good or anything like that." It still tried to make me feel good, I think. It was nice to the ego. Chaitanya, I was in your Q4 group 2 years back, and it was really, really great. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I want to subscribe to, you want to subscribe to Keepa Academy, but first wanted to hear from you how it will be helpful. Well, thank you for the opportunity to pitch one of my courses. So Keepa Academy is basically an 8-hour course on everything about Keepa. Okay. The only thing you don't get in Keepa Academy is like SOPs on how to use everything. But Keepa Academy is the foundation for being able to like build your own SOPs. You'll understand everything about Keepa. And I tried to do it in a way so that it's not just make sure to look at this when you're buying something to flip. But you actually kind of understand the underlying principles so that when or if something does change, you've got those principles, in your mind, and you can figure out how to go forward. And so that's what Keep Academy is all about. Like, yeah, are we going to talk sales rank? Are we going to talk, reading charts, all of that stuff? Yes, absolutely. But there's way, way more to it. Oh, yeah. So Big Jim, repricing. One of those things I love about GoAura is that the support is amazing and they meet live weekly. Yeah, absolutely. So let me, on the repricing note, Jeff Storch, if you're on Twitter, Jeff Storch, or at Jeff Sends It, said that he's thinking about holding a repricing webinar. Now, chances are he's just going to do this out of the kindness of his heart. He's probably not going to have an affiliate link to his own favorite repricer. But if you're on Twitter, go follow Jeff and sign up for whatever webinar he puts on about repricing. I may even ask him, like, if he puts this on, give me a heads up and I will blast it out there, because you want to learn how to reprice. Learn how to reprice from somebody doing $25 million a year in sales.
Yeah. And that's exactly the point I was making earlier. Is, small changes, small improvements with that kind of volume, that equals serious money.
So. Yeah. Big Jim, it's Jeff Storch. It's at Jeff Sends It. SENDSIT. Aaron, how bad do you miss your bikes? It's a great question. I'm getting ready to have a birthday in a little over a month, and I'm turning 40. Told my son today. I was like, hey man, I said, I'm going to be turning 40 next month. I was like, my life is half over. And he looked at me dead in the eye he didn't stutter. He didn't, nothing hold back. He's like, your life was half over around 38. I was like, dang on, that's brutal. But I live in Florida. Florida is barely a safe place to drive a vehicle, let alone ride a motorcycle. I have gone to a couple of bike weeks, and I probably should not even say one of the things that I witnessed at a bike week, but I always saw someone get very hurt at bike week, and it's probably best I don't have a bike anymore. Oh, Flamingo, my favorite for GPT is keeping track of inventory in bins and tells me where all the stuff is when I need it. That's a good idea. I have not thought about doing that, but I may start having to do that.
So the question for you, Flamingo, is there an easy way to load the information, or what are you feeding Chat GPT so it knows the locations?
Yeah. Ah, here you go. If you enter the items into memory, not verbal, but written, it's perfect. Can pull the data from memory really well. Oh, that's good to know. That's really good to know. I'll have to mess around with that too and see if I could build something there. I've got, inventory is not hard for me to find. I don't have much of it, but that'd be nice if I could make it a smaller area. All right. Any other thoughts, concerns, questions that you guys have before we wrap things up this week? It's been a couple of short shows lately. Oh, we do have one other piece of news for those of you who are still around. We are going to be testing a new time for the Sunday show. So normally we've been around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but for summertime, chances are people are out grilling or hanging by the pool or whatever they may be doing. So we're going to move it to 5:30 p.m. Eastern starting this Sunday, and see if that's a better time for people to show up on Sundays.
Yeah, and it's easier to remember too for Wednesday and Sunday at 5:30. If anybody has a knee-jerk reactions, feel free to pop those in the comments too. Yeah, curious if anybody has an opinion.
Yeah. So, Chris, how do you fit 13 or how do 13 mathematicians ride in a 12-passenger van?
I don't know.
They carry the one.
I should have known that. I feel like that's one I should have guessed.
Yeah. I had to pick an old standby this week. All right. That's the show this week, guys. We'll be back, like I said, on Sunday, 5:30 p.m. Answer your questions, bring you a little news. I know. I'm sorry, Luke. You guys deserve better. We'll bring a new business law maxim or razor for you guys, and we'll see you guys on Sunday. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll wish you happy Father's Day on Sunday. All right. Talk to you soon.